Good morning, brothers and sisters. Do you remember in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 mention, where did we come to? We have to come to God. We come to the heavenly Jerusalem, not the Mount Sinai. No more the punishment and the law, but the place full of grace and welcome. I'd like to sing a hymn with you today. It's in God's Family Hymnal 16, page 53. The name is New Heaven, New Earth, New Jerusalem, new, fair and sweet. It's true, the Lord is seated at the right hand of God. It's not a fiction, it's not an imagination, it's real. That is our heavenly home, which is prepared by God for us. You can look at the lyrics and we can sing together.
Much fairer than the Millenium, paradise and all things on earth. New heaven, new earth, new Jerusalem, the warmest home the Lord prepared for us. One day He'll come to receive us to the clouds. See His face, the reunion of God's house. He'll lead us toward the stars, to the new city of light. Glorious New Jerusalem is our Father's house, our God and man's resting place, and His joy is our delight. The Trinity's love dream is fair. Lord, let me see today thoroughly Your heart, Your will. Accomplish Your will in one heart with You. Live out and build New Jerusalem, knitting sweet memories fore'er. Lord, thank You that I have a part in New Jerusalem. Inherit the universe with You.
It's really precious. This is our destination, the fairest destination. We're heading to this direction in our life every day. This is our spiritual destination. We have a goal to strive on. Brothers and sisters, this is also our hope in the future. All these are consistent according to the truth. We don't have to wait until that day when we go up to heaven. Then we can enjoy the happiness in heaven. We can enjoy our eternal Abba and our eternal Lord, who has prepared this eternal for us. Brothers and sisters, I hope you are living in heaven and enjoying the things in heaven. You can see the Lord in glory. Recently, the message was talking about our thinking and our mind. Brother Daniel noticed not only we have to safeguarding our mind, and we also have to enhance our mind. What it meant is we have to keep ourselves away from the attack of the bad thoughts. In addition, we have to be proactive to elevate our mind. The Bible has taught us to think about the heavenly things. What are the things in heaven? Christ seated at the right hand of God. The hymn we have sang help us to think of the heavenly things, very much in details, not only to safeguarding your mind, but to think the precious and the glorious things in heaven. Our whole being are transformed by renewal of our mind. I'd like to read the verses with you in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 2. And it said, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." When Paul wrote the book of Romans, it was governed by the Romans. The civilization, culture, tradition, and the mindset of the Gentiles were very different from the Jews and the Christians. Many Christians were having serious impact on their traditions, culture, and their thoughts at that time. But the word said here, "Do not conform to this world." Paul asked them, do not follow those doctrines or thoughts of that age. He asked the brothers and sisters, do not follow the world. Do not be led by the trend of this world. But I believe Paul has a deeper meaning on his saying. Not only we are not following the world, we should affect the world. Therefore, we shall not be beaten by the enemy. Instead, we shall take the leading role. But how can we do it? As Brother Daniel said, we shall be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Your mind is elevated continually to be improved and moving forward endlessly. If we want to overcome the world, not only we relied on reminding ourselves do not commit sins, do not do this or thinking of that, we shall be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. I like to say it again, not that I like to nag, but I hope every brothers and sisters to safeguarding your mind. For example, if there is some bad thoughts come into your mind or some negative feelings which affect your mind, first of all, we need to stop those thoughts by asking the Lord for help. You can ask the Lord to save you or help you. Sometimes those negative feelings comes one by one, so we cannot stay on asking the Lord to save you or to help you. Therefore, in order to safeguarding our mind, we have to enhance our mind. After you have asked the Lord for help, we have to focus on the Lord, to think of the truth. For example, the Lord loves us the most, and the Lord has risen. To stay in those truth and enjoy it, to respond to the Lord and rely on Him. Then you will notice the attack of the negative thoughts will diminish. Therefore, not only to safeguard your mind, but to enhance your mind, to overcome those situations. The important is that not only we have overcome the temptation, during the spiritual warfare, our relationship with the Lord are much closer, and we will have a stronger faith. We should exercise this spiritual practice more, so that we can learn to handle those attacks from the enemies, and we can make use of these problems to bring us draw near the Lord. This would be a great help to us, and we can help the people around you, and the world is blessed through us. I'd like to tell you one thing about London. There is a very famous graveyard in the world. It is very similar without the cemetery, but there are many ordinary graves there. But there were also many famous people buried there. For example, there were kings in England, or many famous people like Sir Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, Charles Dickens, etc. This graveyard was very famous, situated at Westminster Cathedral. There was an abbey where the gravestones of the dead are placed. Some didn't have the names and the birthday and the day they died, but why it is so famous, for the dignitary from all over the world will come and visit a gravestone of an anonymous. Many people want to come to visit, for the inscription on a tablet was very meaningful. I'd like to read the inscription of an unknown for you. When I was young and free, and my imagination had no limits, I dreamed of changing the world. As I grew older and wiser, I discovered the world would not change. So I shortened my sights somewhat and decided to change only my country. But it too seemed immovable. As I grew into my twilight years, in one last desperate attempt, I'd settle for changing only my family, those closest to me. But alas, they would have none of it. And now, as I lie on my deathbed, I suddenly realize, if I had only changed myself first, then by example I would have changed my family. From their inspiration and encouragement, I would then have been able to better my country. And who knows, I may have even changed the world. This was he say that the young Nelson Mandela has read this inscription, was deeply enlightened. When he returned to South Africa, he strongly hoped that to change his mind first. Mandela also agreed to use violence against violence for eliminating racial discrimination initially, but he started off on himself to change his family's mind and then his relatives and close friends. After several decades, he has eliminated the racial discrimination in a peaceful way. He has changed his own country. He even influenced the entire South Africa and the whole world. Actually, we should all know, if something cannot change you, then how you can change the world. It's very good that the world has changed us into the new creation first. He abides in our hearts so that He can help us the most, so that we can help the people around us. Brothers and sisters, we shall change ourselves first. It may be some tiny matters, and the Lord will remind you what you should change. If you can improve in the tiny matters, we can be the blessing of many.